Hello, welcome to Friday, March 18th. Today is Holi Festival in India. So this is the day or the festival where you'll see all the bright colored powders. It's a really neat thing, so I'll make sure to include some information or link a video in the YouTube video I upload. Which means spring is right around the corner. It's the Hindu festival of spring. So as you arrive in your easy seat, let yourself begin to breathe deeply. And if a deep breath doesn't feel quite right, you might just notice how the breath is in the body this morning. Allowing yourself these precious moments of slowing down a bit, of arriving in the present moment. And as we allow ourselves or ask ourselves to do that, we might notice the mind jumping all over the place, remembering memories from the past, or making lists of things to do in the future. And we can practice noticing all of that happening and choosing to return to this breath, to the sensations of this moment. If it feels good, you might move your head, making some gentle neck rolls. I'll just share a brief reading from the Heart of Yoga, TKV Desikachar, an explanation of Satya. This is the second Yama we've been exploring this week. We have to consider what we say, how we say it, and in what way it could affect others. Because Satya means to speak the truth, yet it's not always desirable to speak the truth come what may, for it could harm someone unnecessarily. If speaking the truth has negative consequences for another, then it may be better to say nothing. Satya should never come into conflict with our efforts to behave with ahimsā, non-harm. The Mahābhārata, the great Indian epic, says, "Speak the truth which is pleasant. Do not speak unpleasant truths. Do not lie, even if the lies are pleasing to the ear." That is the eternal law. That's the dharma. And that's not easy. So these are tools for us to work with and explore. If you'd like to chant Om, you can sit tall, drawing your hands together in front of your heart. Inhale deeply for the chant. Release your hands. Let's make our way into child's pose. As you arrive, sinking your hips back towards your heels, you might let this be really passive, just settling in with softness, or perhaps you reach your arms up overhead and walk your fingertips forward. So keeping the forearms off of the ground, maybe even keeping the palms of the hands off of the ground. As the fingertips walk forward, shoulders slide up by your ears. The neck is maybe scrunched but relaxed. The top of the spine is stretching towards the top of the mat. And then we can engage our abdominal muscles, helping us sink our hips back towards our heels. Any amount, no worries if your hips are elevated. So imagine lovingly pulling the lower half of your spine towards the bottom of your mat and the top of your spine towards the top of your mat. For your next breath or two, you might give your attention to your side body. So the sides of the ribs, like where your arms usually, if you were standing with your arms by your side, breathe into that part. Or just notice that part, the subtle stretch and expansion as you inhale. And the contraction, drawing back to center as you exhale. Inhale, and on your exhale, walk your hands over to the right. Keep your left hip anchoring back and down. Really stretch the left side body. See if you can notice the latissimus dorsi or the armpit area of your left side. One more breath. Imagine pulling the left hip back and down. And as you exhale, walk your hands across the midline over to the left side. And now the right hip is anchoring back and down. As we plant the right hand, notice the right side body. Send your breath there. Noticing another full, slow cycle of breath. As you're ready, return to neutral on your mat. Tuck your toes. Bring your knees hips distance apart if they're not already. With the toes tucked and spread as wide as you can, walk your hands back to your thighs. We will just pass through. We won't be here long. See if you can sit on your heels. Imagine anchoring your tailbone down while your abdominal muscles hug in. Long spine, lift the crown of your head. The ears are over the shoulders, over the hips. Notice how this feels, if this is intense to the toes and feet. Remember, you're always in control. You can move out of this immediately or stay for 3, 2, and release. Walk your hands down the mat, returning or making your way to tabletop. You might tap the tops of the feet on the mat. And then tuck the toes again. Have your blocks handy at the top of your mat if you like to use them. Preparing for downward facing dog. Full breath in. As you exhale, core muscles engaged. Lift the knees. Send the hips up. Melts the heart back towards the thighs. Take any movement that your body likes here as you settle into this triangle shape, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Keep in mind, child's pose is always available to you. Otherwise, we'll stay here for 5 to 7 breaths. So really giving yourself time to feel into this shape. There's so much going on here. So let's start with attention to our foundation, noticing how your feet hit the earth, about hips distance apart. The hands gripping with the fingertips, lightening the load on the wrists. The arms pushing the ground away, shoulders sliding towards our ears as the head and neck hangs heavy, jaw relaxed. We're gazing back towards our legs and we can see our inner thighs spiraling towards each other and then back behind us, a little internal rotation. The navel draws up towards the spine. Another full breath. And on your next breath, see if you can notice your side body. Again, looking for or noticing the expansion of the ribs, expansion of the lungs. This life-giving breath coming in and going out. As you're ready, inhale, look forward. Exhale, step yourself to the top of the mat. Uttanasana, forward fold. You might shake and nod the head. You might wiggle the hips a little side to side. Second and third toes centered with the middle of your heel. As you're ready, inhale to press into your feet and rise up with a long spine. Reaching all the way up. You're always welcome to lift your heels off of the ground and play with balance. Tailbone anchored down. Full breath. And we'll all return to Tadasana, mountain pose. On your inhale, reach to the sky. On your exhale, fold forward. As your hands touch down, step yourself back into downward facing dog. Option to run through a Chaturanga Dandasana flow if you like, in which case we come forward into plank. On your next inhale, come forward on your tippy toes so your shoulders move forward in space. Exhale, lower halfway. Arms are hugging the side body. Untuck your toes. Inhale, lift your heart, upward facing dog. Exhale, we all meet in downward facing dog. Really push the ground away. On an inhale, lift your right leg to the sky, three-legged dog. Maybe draw a little circle with your ankle and take the circle the other way. On an inhale, look forward. Exhale, step or swing your right foot to the right thumb, whatever it takes to get into a runner's lunge for a breath. And then lower your left knee. Untuck the toes if you like. You can keep your hands on the earth or blocks, or inhale to reach your arms up overhead. Option to stay here or float your arms out wide. You can keep your arms long or cactus them. Maybe you like to take yoga mudra here. Just inviting the option of a heart opener. If you've clasped your hands behind your back, I'll suggest left thumb on top, offering a little balance with our right leg forward. Another full breath. And when you come to an exhale, release your hands to the earth or grab your blocks and straighten your right leg, sending your hips back in space. Let's spread the toes wide and point them up to the sky. Imagine dragging the right hip back in space. And maybe you fold forward over the right leg. Remember, it's no competition, so maybe it's not necessary to fold forward. Full breath, long spine, soft jaw. And let's bring our right toes to the earth, stretching the top of your foot and ankle. See if you can notice the top of the foot of your left foot, your back foot. Practicing awareness of the whole body as much as we can. And as you're ready, bend your right knee, walk your hands forward. Option to return to low crescent lunge if you'd like, or we can tuck the left toes, lift the left knee off of the ground, then reach the arms up. Anjaneyasana, crescent lunge. It is crescent lunge whether your knee is down or up, so do what works best for you in this moment. You might bring your hands to your hips just to check in with our hip alignment. Ideally, the hips are neutral, so the outer left hip shifts forward, outer right hip shifts back. That keeps them nice and neutral. This is a lot for the front of the left hip, so breathe and imagine expanding into that area. One more full breath, reach a little higher, stretching the abdominal muscles. And exhale your hands to the blocks or earth in front of you, preparing for standing splits. Inhale. Exhale, step into the right leg. Send the left heel to the sky. Breathing as we hinge forward. Now you can stay exactly as you are in standing splits, or if you are feeling like you want to play a little, we can explore transitioning into half moon. What's she gonna say? I lost my words. So we can bring the right hand forward and out a little bit. Maybe we bring the left hand to the hip. Explore opening the heart to the left. Left leg, if possible, is a little bit above the hip. Ardha Chandrasana. Exploring half moon. Both legs are just as active and engaged as if we were standing in mountain pose or in plank pose. Maybe your left hand lifts to the sky. Maybe you look up towards it, maybe not at all. Breathe wherever you've gone. And if you're falling in and out of it, notice what happens to the mind. Some days we might take ourselves quite seriously. Some days, not at all. Just notice where you're at And as you're ready, if you explored half moon, we can drop the hip, drop the left hand, return to standing splits, and then set the left foot down. Take a really nice wide stance, bend the knees, drape the torso between the thighs, shake and nod the head. When you're ready, very slowly rise up, long spine, slowly reaching up. Maybe you bend your knees a little, press your hips forward, find a bit of a back bend. And then exhale your hands to your heart space, pausing here. Noticing any sensations you're aware of in the body. From all of the opening we just did on the left hip, I know I feel almost like a cool tingling in the left hip flexor. So maybe you're experiencing something somewhere you can give your attention to. And as you're ready, inhale, reach to the sky. Exhale, hinge forward. Hands touch down and step your right foot way back in space. Oops, let's plant our hands and step ourselves into downward facing dog. There we go. If you'd like to take Chaturanga Dandasana, inhale into plank pose, stay for a breath. On your next inhale, shift forward on your tippy toes. Exhale to lower halfway, untuck your toes. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. From Adho Mukha Svanasana, inhale to lift your left leg to the sky, three-legged dog. Draw some circles with your left ankle, and then circles the other way. Pushing the ground away on an inhale, we look forward. On an exhale, step or swing your left foot to meet the left thumb. Pause here. As you're ready, lower the right knee, untuck the toes if you like. And perhaps you reach your arms up to the sky. Breathe deeply here. It's okay if you're kind of like forward in space, but generally I do like to encourage stacking, again, shoulders over hips. Imagine squeezing the legs together. Maybe you float your arms out wide. Maybe you clasp your hands behind your back. If you do that, then we can take the right thumb on top, rolling the shoulders together back and down. Noticing what's here. Maybe giving your attention to your foundation, the parts of you connected to the ground. On your exhale, release the hands. Grabbing blocks if you're using them, straighten the left leg. Spread the left toes wide as you lift them to point at the sky. Imagine dragging your left hip back in space. Breathing fully. Option to fold forward. Soften the jaw if you catch yourself clenching it. As you're ready, press the left toes towards the earth, stretching the top of your foot and ankle. Keep shifting the left hip back in space. Noticing perhaps traction or pull through the left leg. Breathing deeply, bend into the left leg, walking your hands forward. Tuck your right toes, option to lift the right leg off of the earth and then reach the arms up overhead. If this doesn't work for you today, take crescent pose any way that does work. Anjaneyasana. Again, you could bring your hands to your hips, checking in. We're always anchoring the tailbone down, shoulders over hips. outer left hip shifts back, outer right hip shifts forward. Then you might rebend into your left leg. It's okay if a bend comes into the back leg. We're working it towards long, but sometimes by pushing the leg straight, it pulls the hips open because there's probably a lot of tension in there. Another few breaths. And transitioning to standing splits. Inhale to reach. Exhale, hands down to the earth. Inhale. On your exhale, step into the left leg. Take your time transitioning to standing splits. Right heel lifting towards the sky. And you'll notice in standing splits, our hips are still level. So we could put a teacup on our sacrum and it would balance. If you'd like to explore Ardha Chandrasana, half moon, then we'll bring the left hand forward and out to the left a bit and start transitioning. So now the right hip stacks on top of the left. Our imaginary teacup just fell off to the left. Open the heart towards the right hand to right hip. The right leg is actively engaged. You could imagine pressing through the sole of your foot, just like you're standing into an invisible sky wall. I don't know. Both legs are really active. Maybe you reach your right hand to the sky. Maybe you look up looking for what the heck a sky wall is. Breathe deeply, noticing how this is going. Noticing how your mind and your body respond to a challenge. Left gluteal muscles really engaged to support you. One more breath. And as you're ready, return your right hand to the earth if it's not there already. Drop your right hip and then set the right foot down. Uttanasana, forward fold. You can shake your head. And then nod your head. Yes, you did great. On your inhale, rise all the way up, long spine, reaching. Exhale, hands to your heart. Turn to face the long edge of your mat. Take a wide stance. And then bend into your left leg, passing through Skandasana. Maybe your left heel stays on the ground, maybe it lifts. It's okay either way. You can point your right toes towards the sky if you like. You might bring blocks with you as we press ourselves up and shift to the other side. Breath or two here. And then as you're ready, begin to transition side to side. You can keep the foot of the long leg anchored, or you can let the toes point up towards the sky. See what feels good to you today. And maybe you set the blocks aside and see if you can transition with no hands or with less connection to the ground. Just a couple more breaths, seeing what's here. When you're ready, let's all meet in a wide leg forward fold, pivoting on the feet so that they are parallel to the top edges of your mat. Lots of energy into the pinky side edges of your feet, so our arches are lifted, our ankles are strong. And again, you might shake and nod your head. Full breath in and out. Now we'll very gracefully crawl ourselves over to face the top of the mat like usual. Drop the knees, coming into tabletop. Lower down onto your belly. Bring your left leg out wide, so coming into a half frog. Flex your left ankle, so we have a right angle at the ankle, at the knee, and the hip. You can stay just like this if it feels good, or take a twist, weaving your right arm under your left. You might put a block under your head, or you might just let your head hang out. Your left hand can come to your low back if that feels good. For the next breath or two, notice if you're clenching anywhere in the body. Maybe you can relax your right gluteal muscles, your right shoulder. And as you're ready, unwind. Send your left leg long back behind you. Bend your right knee, creating those 3 right angles at the ankle, the knee, and the hip joint. And as you settle into this half frog, we can then weave the left arm under the right, coming to rest the left shoulder towards the middle of the mat. Maybe you bring a block under your head. Firm pillow never felt so good. Your right hand can come to your low back. You might look up towards the sky, or maybe just let your head fall how it falls. Breathe deeply in this reclined twist. And after a few breaths here, you might notice if you've been subconsciously holding tension somewhere. So it might be your left hip or your left shoulder that can soften. Maybe it's somewhere else for you. One more breath. And as you're ready, unwind. Send your right leg long. And then we will make our way onto our spine. So you could just roll over, or if you want to flip around so your head is at the back of the mat. We're all coming onto our spine. Arms open wide, let the legs fall side to side. Sometimes this can feel like a really nice hip or gluteal massage because the femur bone, top of the thigh bone, is pressing into the earth by way of pushing through the gluteal muscles. So if you find a sweet spot, feel free to pause and breathe. Just a few more rounds of breath. And as you're ready, return the legs to neutral, then send them both long, feet at least hips distance apart. Palms towards the sky, arms at least 30 degrees out from the body. Breathing, allow yourself to start to soften. Practice being completely supported and held by the earth. So you've done the work, and now you can be held. Speak the truth which is pleasant. Do not speak unpleasant truths. Do not lie, even if the lies are pleasing to the ear. The ability to be honest in communication with sensitivity, without hurting others, without telling lies, and with the necessary reflection requires a very refined state of being. as you're ready, invite movement back into the body. Full breaths, and we can meet back in an easy seat to close this 30-minute Friday practice. Noticing how you feel as you arrive. Sitting tall. If you'd like, draw your hands together in front of your heart. Remembering that any sense of peace or well-being that we cultivate during our yoga practice, that's always there within us. And the more we practice visiting it, the more accessible it is during challenging times. If you'd like, inhale for Om. Thank you for taking the time to share your practice. Thank you to all the teachers and all the students. Happy Holy Day.